Hey guys, what's going on? It's Dan and I am back with another VBA battle. This week in a matchup of undefeated coaches, we are going up against Curry Puff. Curry and I played twice last season, once in the regular season, once in the playoffs, having two very close sets that I was fortunate enough to be the victor of both times. But he then paid me back by beating me in the BTL as part of the excellent Execufor. So we've had a lot of very close matches. But as you can see for the team this week, Eden Didi Crobat is the lead that I'm planning for because I'm expecting him to go for Tailwind mode, maybe with Amoonguss, maybe with Mian Chao, but both ways. Ndidi should be able to fake out, even in Psychic Terrain, the Talonflame, then Crobat should give me the Tailwind advantage, and Ndidi should be able to pick up the Talonflame with a Life Orb Expanding Force the turn after. It's a very offensive Ndidi this week. Options in the back include various takes on Disquake, and then a Liepard option for Unburden if I ever think that that is going to be necessary. But I'm happy with the team this week, so let's go ahead and dive right on into the battle. I believe this is a new trainer card for Curry, 0 out of 10. Moving on. So Curry is going to be leading with the Talonflame Luxray, so this is about what I expected. Luxray should be able to pick up the Crobat, but after Fake Out, I'll be able to get up my Tailwind, and we'll just have a decent fight for Game 1. I feel like this is a decent lead for me, but I will be losing my Crobat early with it. But Fake Out Tailwind is the easiest call in the world for me. And, yeah, things that I might be expecting this match. If Amoonguss comes, he always talks about running Choice Band Amoonguss, so I could potentially see the Choice Band Amoonguss coming, as odd as that sounds. It does have better offenses than Talonflame. I mean, it's probably a support set, but it could be Choice Band, and that's always in the back of my mind. An early Luxray Protect sort of makes sense here, but I see that Talonflame is protected by Psychic Terrain, so I know that that's Iron Ball Talonflame immediately, which is really cool tech. And then the Psychic Fangs is just going to take out the Crobat, and yeah, we're going to have some issues here. I am at a horrible speed disadvantage. A Guts Luxray under Tailwind is going to outspeed my entire team. And I couldn't fake out the Talonflame because it's Iron Ball. That is just really cool prep for him this week. Nice tech, and not too much I can do about it, so I just gotta see if I can launch an Expanding Force and see how much damage it'll do. I think about a Helping Hand, maybe I'll try and pick up a double KO here, but I also think there's a chance that this Luxray just takes out the Ndidi, in which case a little bit of extra damage from Discharge isn't horrible. The Marowak switch could work if he's going for an electric type move, but I'm just hoping to get one for an electric type move into the Ndidi so I can redirect it into the Marowak and maybe get an attack off, but no, he goes for the Crunch. Ndidi goes down, Helping Hand wouldn't matter, Discharge would have been okay, but I'm pretty clearly in a bad spot Game 1. But I do see that it is a Heat Wave Talonflame, which is good to know. So yeah, this game's just not going to be in my favor with where that Luxray is. I try and think, like, how can I get through this? What series of misplays on his end would put me in a position to win? And it involves hitting every Protect I need to, probably a couple doubles, getting redirection into Lightning Rod on his end, Discharge, Earthquake, maybe he targets incorrectly. Like, here I'm just trying to get out as much damage as possible. Especially since I know this Talonflame has grounded, so Earthquake will hit it, but he goes for a double Protect, I go for Discharge Earthquake, and nothing happens. Except my Lightning Rod activates, which doesn't matter. And yeah, so this is just a bad game for me. I guess I'm probably, even in retrospect, I don't think there's anything I can do this game just with the prep of the Iron Ball on the Talonflame. Just punked me out of the game, and there's nothing really I can do about that. I know he's got one more turn of Tailwind. Maybe there's a world where Discharge and I protect and he attacks into the Marowak and Talonflame is broken and it's slow, and maybe I pick up a KO on it. Like, that's my play here, is him attacking into... Yeah, I should protect the Marowak there, break the Gale Wings on the Talonflame, and play it like that. But as it is, that really wouldn't have given me much of a shot either, because the Crunch is still just going to kill me. But maybe I could have killed this Luxray with a Shadow Ball crit. I don't know, this was a tough game one, but he's going to pick it up just pretty cleanly overall, but I will let the rest of this bloodletting play out, and we can go ahead and move on into game two. So moving into game two, I have a couple of different potential plans. One is a Marowak Crobat lead, where even if he is just going to threaten the Crobat turn one, the Marowak threatens back with a double KO with an Earthquake. The other is Indeedee Liepard to try to get as much Charm and Thunder Wave control on his team as possible, understanding I'll be at a speed deficit except for the Liepard. So I think my plan is to go Indeedee Liepard this game, and then follow that up with the Marowak Crobat lead in game 3 if I make it that far. But now I'm just really struggling with what I want in the back here. Marowak seems like a very decent option, and I don't know if I want the late game Tailwind with the Crobat, because that could be in my favor. Nidoking could also put in some work, and so could Rotom. Anything along with Marowak sounds correct. But I am going to end up going with the Rotom for a Disquake mode that can threaten Golduck sets, potentially. With all this spread damage, I do have to be worried about Wide Guard from the Mienshao, which has the potential to be really annoying for me. But he does just go with the Talonflame Luxray lead. So here I know not to go for the Fake Out, I can just start launching Expanding Forces and charming the Luxray. Because at that point the Luxray shouldn't really be able to threaten the Indeedee, and the Indeedee is going to really start putting out some major damage. Offensive Life Orb Indeedee does hit like an absolute truck, which is going to be useful in this matchup because I'm going to need to take some chunk damage before attempting to take some KOs later. But I expect the Luxray to protect here, so this Charm shouldn't do much, but I do need to go for it. Because this Talonflame is going to still under Tailwind be slower than the Unburdened Liepard, since it is Iron Ball, which will let me target it next turn if I need to with something else. Because I will be breaking Gale Wings here. Yep, so Gale Wings breaks. I do a big chunk on the Talonflame, and the plan is to just Charm the Luxray and launch it again, because I don't think there's anything that he can do to threaten me here. Or no, I Charm the Luxray, protect, and then I launch it again, because the crunch into the Indeedee will still hurt at -2 with the Guts boost, but if I can threaten to put it at -4, it'll do a lot less. So crunch into the protect, here comes a Tailwind, or Heat Wave. And that does a decent chunk to the Liepard considering I'm at +1 special defense. So here, I sort of expect him to protect the Luxray to try and get in Mienshao for a wide guard. So Charm makes sense, but Snarl also makes sense in this situation to me. Expanding Force is obviously the play from the Indeedee, though. I do think Charm is the correct play here, but Protect also isn't a bad option. I mean, or Snarl isn't a bad option here. So Curry's a bit deep in the tank here, so I'm going to talk through what I'm looking at endgame. It's playing around Mienshao wide guards. Getting the Mienshao naturally slower than everything is going to be super useful with Thunder Wave. Yeah, Snarl probably wouldn't have been horrible here. But he does Roost, which will mean that I don't kill him with this, but he also just wastes a turn of Tailwind. And he puts the Talonflame in Charm range, which, with the Talonflame, or into Snarl range. So if the Talonflame is in Snarl range, then I can E-Force into the Luxray single target, and I might even take it out from this range. It is a slow Luxray set, so I don't know how much bulk it has, but I do know this Indeedee is naturally outspeeding it, which is nice. Indeedee also has the potential to switch out here if I want to call an attack on the Luxray, and then I'll just let Snarl take out the Talonflame and hope that Indeedee Liepard is a better option. If I can mitigate crunch damage again, that'll be nice, and then just let burn and Snarl damage stack up on this Luxray. So crunch goes into that slot. And then he is out of Tailwind now. So I should be at a speed advantage at this point. But part of that is I need to put Thunder Wave on the Mienshao when I am faster than it to guarantee that speed advantage. And at this range, I think the Luxray goes down to Expanding Force. But there's also an argument, obviously, for switching out the Indeedee here, because Mienshao often carries Knockout, or Knockoff, along with the crunch that I know is in the Luxray. So Indeedee could just die here. But if I'm switching into a Dark-type move, everything dies except the Rotom, which has the Focus Sash, so that seems like the best potential switch here until I can identify the moves he's using into Indeedee Liepard and just start countering those plays. So the Rotom comes on out, Luxray goes back, Golduck comes out, Thunder Wave will hit the Mienshao, and he does reveal Knockoff, which will leave me at my Sash. So now I know I've got a good speed advantage, which will be, and that speed advantage is going to be pretty useful for me going into these last few turns of this set. Thunder Wave or Snarl both seem like reasonable options into the Golduck Mienshao setup. And as does just clicking Discharge here to try and get some chip damage off before this Rotom inevitably goes down. And I do want to see if this Mienshao has Wide Guard, which like I've said, it's something I assume it has into my team, and that my team is a little soft to this week. So it will be fairly useful for me to figure out if that is in fact the case. So just getting a discharge off and getting for free the switch into the Marowak. Not necessarily for free. If he targets that slot, it's very bad for me. But I do see he goes for the wide guard there. I can tell because priority is the only way he's moving that quickly. And luckily he doesn't get it off, so I do get a nice discharge off. He goes for Icy Wind, which is an interesting way to fight speed, but the Rotom will go down. So now the Marowak is not going to be very fast, and the Rotom was the fastest thing on the field. He does reveal Life Orb as well. So now Indeedee comes out, sets terrain, and my setup is very weak to wide guard right now. This has the potential to be a little unfortunate for me. I expect a wide guard out of the Mienshao here, so I kind of want to just Shadow Bone it, but I also know this Marowak could just go down this turn. But the wide guard makes sense given that he probably expects Expanding Force or Dazzling Gleam, because I don't have a single target option that'll hit anything on his team. So instead, I'm going to call the potential Dark type move into this Indeedee and try to get the Liepard on. And maybe from there I will be able to start targeting things down. But Liepard's only damaging move is Snarl, so I've left myself very soft. And the Marowak goes down there from a very powerful hit from that Golduck. And I need to get Indeedee in. So here, I either have to stall my own Psychic Terrain to try and make Indeedee single target, and I think the most efficient way for me to do that is to try and Thunderwave Parahax him out of his wide guard turns, but I'm just going to launch an Expanding Force before I go into protecting next turn. I could have done it either way, but this seemed like the way to maximize my chances, because if he does get a full para, that will just lock the game up for me, which he does get a full para, which does just lock the game up for me. So Expanding Force will come on out, and then I will just be able to beat this Luxray because it's going to be slower than the Indeedee. It'll be single target Expanding Force, and I can just charm it into Oblivion as well, which is exactly what's going to happen. So really tricky game 3. I get some help with some paras, but overall I'm decently okay with the way I navigated it, but there are definitely some ways that I could have played it better. But going into game 3, I have a much better plan that's going to involve that Crobat Marowak lead, which I think is going to be very solid if he leads the same thing again, expecting that he liked the way that this game went for him, even though he did end up losing. But I'm just going to let these closing animations finish out, and I will see you guys back for Game 3. So going into Game 3, I am going to be going with that Crobat and Marrow lead, which isn't foolproof. Like, there are some definite things that beat it, but I do think Indeedee in the back is a must-come. And then, again, there's arguments for any of the other three, but Liepard performed very well for me in Game 2, so I am leaning towards it. But Nidoking as a change up to threaten a lot of his team. I haven't seen a ground type move yet. And the other, but I do see a lot of dark type moves, which also the Liepard resists. Thunder Punch seems decent into the Golduck, but I don't know if it picks up that KO. Like, there are a lot of potential things here, but I do think Liepard has the greatest potential to affect the end of the game. But we are going to go ahead and dive straight into it here. And he is going to show a different lead with the Talonflame Mienshao, which very much threatens what I have. Because a knockoff into this Marowak would be very bad. But I think I can just protect, and expecting that he doesn't have Fake Out, I should just be able to match his Tailwind, and then we can figure it out from there. With that being the case, then a Brave Bird into the Mienshao will either take it to Sash or KO it, and then it will give me a lot of options moving forward. So the Tailwind comes on out, Knockoff does come straight into the Protect, and I'm able to match Tailwinds. So at this point, Brave Bird makes sense, but if he is Sash, I don't just want to lose Marowak, which I would do. So a Liepard switch is something that I'm very strongly considering to make sure that the Marowak doesn't just go down to a knockoff. And even if he knocks off my Seed, I still get the Unburden bonus. But Brave Bird into the Mienshao does just seem like the most obvious choice because I haven't really run Brave Bird Crobat yet, so he probably doesn't expect an offensive set. Brave Bird comes on out, and I see the Mienshao is Sash. Go ahead and take some damage. Knockoff comes out, which is a good thing that I made that switch. And a Heat Wave. So at this point, and I know you can hear my Dachshund running around like a maniac in the background. Franklin says hi. He's a psychopath. But at this point, Snarl seems like a decent choice. Thunder Wave seems like a decent choice, but knowing that it's Special Talonflame, Snarl should give me some survivals. And then Mienshao goes down to a Leech Life, and I also get to heal myself if it switches out. So that seems like the most obvious choice to me. Because if he switches into something like Luxray, I don't want to just take a little more chip. I'd rather get a little bit of healing out of it and Snarl down this Talonflame. Which I am able to do. Luxray special attack will go down 2, and then I'll get a Leech Life on the Luxray, which obviously isn't going to do huge damage, but it does decent damage, and it does give me some healing on the Crobat. Crobat will also avoid the Heat Wave, which is a nice touch, but at this point, another Snarl from Liepard will guarantee me another Heat Wave survival, and then I think it's in range of Snarl plus Brave Bird. You can hear Franklin going full speed behind me, and yes, he is as adorable as the little pitter-patter of his feet sound. So I do think Brave Bird here plus Snarl will take out the Talonflame, which will give me a Mon-Up, which is going to be very important. But there's obviously some potential downsides here if the Luxray targets into the Liepard. I get the Brave Bird off, and the Talonflame survives with a lot more HP than I thought it would. The Wild Charge comes out, which is risky because I always have a potential Marowak switch there. But he is able to take out the Crobat, take some recoil, and the Talonflame roosts up. But it's not very threatening to me right now. with it roosting up and there being no speed advantage and no Gale Wings, Indeedee kind of just gets a free expanding force here, because Indeedee's going to be outspeeding both of them. And this Talonflame is going to have a hard time surviving another Snarl and expanding force. And this Luxray definitely doesn't survive expanding force. So he's got to choose something to die here, or at least something to get very grievously weakened. If I'm in his shoes, what I'm doing is protecting Luxray, letting Talonflame go down, and then getting in Mienshao for a wide guard shenanigans. So with that in mind, I kind of want to just put in Marowak, expecting that to happen, and then just let the expanding force pick up what it can pick up. I will lose my Unburden bonus, which means that Mienshao will have likely higher speed than me. So I'm going to have to play the endgames very carefully, because Mienshao can probably just one-shot everything I have left. But I get off an expanding force, and the Talonflame will go down. So here, it gets really complicated. If Mienshao comes on out, I can't expanding force because he could wide guard and crunch, which is bad for me. But I also can't protect the Indeedee and single target the Mienshao, because again, he can crunch or knock off the Marowak. In fact, his safest play is probably knock off Indeedee and crunch Marowak, which would make him open to an expanding force, but both of my things would die. So, expecting the Dark attack into the Indeedee, I want to get Liepard out to start potentially getting some control on this Mienshao. And Marowak, I'm going to preserve some HP here. But the knockoff does come on out. I will survive with the Liepard. And then the crunch comes out. So he did make the what I think is the ideal play there. And now I can sort of try to stall him with bird damage. But that doesn't seem quite ideal. So here, again, the Liepard might be faster, the Mienshao might be faster, but single target into the Mienshao plus a Snarl should cover both options, because the Mienshao can only outspeed one of them. He could still just very easily kill Liepard and then attack into Marowak, but I don't think he knows how slow this Liepard is without Unburden. So here, the Luxray will protect, and then I'll be able to launch a Snarl, which will weaken this Golduck, which will come into big effect later, because now I have the potential to survive a Scald from this Golduck, even with a Life Orb. So Shadow Bone comes on out, directly into Golduck, chunks it, but doesn't quite kill it, and he's got probably a cumulative 12 HP left, but everything has the potential to one-shot my stuff. Double Snarl. Snarl here seems okay. But he's just going to let the Luxray go down, which makes sense. So now we're into a Mienshao endgame, where if I can predict him not wide guarding, then Luxray Snarl threatens to kill everything, but if he does wide guard and I attack into it incorrectly, he picks up KOs. So my thought process here is that he's probably going to wide guard, because if he doesn't, I just pick up a KO into something, because he'd have to use Mienshao into Liepard to prevent the double KO, and then Golduck into Marrow isn't a guaranteed KO on his end. But here I'm thinking he's definitely wide guarding, so I'm just going to Thunder Wave and Shadow Bone the Golduck, and that'll lock it up for me. Technically here, there is no optimal play. Maybe Snarling in case he doesn't wide guard, but I mean, this is obviously the least optimal play because it just goes directly into my Lightning Rod, but Charm wouldn't have done anything there into either of them. They're still getting one-shots. It basically came down to I need this Marowak to live this attack, which it does. The Golduck goes down to Life Orb, and then Marowak's going to be able to lock up this game with the Shadow Bone. So, good games to Curry. Having a lot of fun again this season. I think it was a very interesting set again, but I will see you guys next week with Week 4. Bye.